Hi everyone, it's the Club Racing UK podcast here back and absolutely boiling. It's been a warm week. Now, introducing... It has, just a bit. If you've not been watching the news, it's not as if it's been all over it. As usual, I am joined by my esteemed co-hosts, although one of them is probably on more dodgier ground than the current BTC Racing Rich Energy sponsorship deal. It is, of course, Stefan Marsh and Nick Holmes. How are we doing, guys?
Evening. All good. How are you, Nick?
I'm fantastic.
If you haven't guessed, if you are watching on our YouTube channel or watching on our live Facebook channel and not listening to the audio, I've labelled Nick as quarantine. Unfortunately, he could possibly have the dreaded COVID. So, how do you feel, Nick?
I feel like absolute death warmed up, if I'm honest. I can't believe you lot made me come and do this. I was in bed.
I can just explain to you, I had COVID, still did the show. Steph had COVID, still did the show. Suck it up, man up, drink your orange juice. Now, as we
I came here for sympathy. Why am I not receiving it?
Yeah, you won't get it here.
You came onto the Club Racing UK podcast for sympathy.
Have you watched any of these shows?
Especially after the amount of grief that myself and Steph got when we had COVID. So,
yeah. All right, it's my turn.
Take your oil. Anyway, I digress, gents, because we have some wonderful guests on this week. And I have to admit, this is Nick's show because he has wanted to get these guys on for such a long time. It is absolutely our pleasure to have them on. And the first for the Club Racing UK podcast, we have our first doctor. How awesome is that? Joining us this week is the PDC Racing team. We have Pip Hammond, Dr. Esther, Quaintmere, and Gavin Johnson. Hello, guys.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
First of all, I've just realised Gavin's wearing a hoodie. Are you mad?
It's in Frodsham in the north. It's all right, you know. It's quite cool today. And it's team colours, Rob, isn't it? That's the game.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to rep the team. Team
Always
colours.
represent.
I will also say that Esther is. I assume it's because you're working, but she actually joins us from the wonderful Purple Palace that is the Premier Inn this evening.
Yep, I'm working away, so I get air conditioning.
It has its perks.
Yeah.
And Pip Hammond has decided to take over your lovely home office to join us on this podcast as well. Good evening, Pip. How are you?
Hello, I'm rocking everyone's favourite Facebook aircon solution of the bottle full of ice and the fan. So, and it makes no difference whatsoever.
Absolutely no difference whatsoever.
What? Surely not. It was found on TikTok. Everybody knows everything that happens on TikTok is true.
Yeah.
Is it
real?
Well, right. I'm just going to come to some of the comments because, as expected, Nick has got some great sympathy coming in. Jeremy Evans comes in with a can of "Man the fuck up" for the bearded one. Charlie McCready, a shout out to Charlie McCready, who was a shout out to myself for putting up with Nick moaning every day and looking after him with a violin emoji. So if we could all just play a nice little violin.
Can I just give her a shout out actually, because she took me away last Wednesday for my birthday. I know, I'm 36, and the minute we landed, pretty much the day after, I felt like death, and she took me camping. So, yeah. Poor things, had to put up with me in the field moaning, then the weekend moaning, and the rest of this week moaning. So, yeah, she's been looking after me, bless her.
Oh, bless her. For fair play. Vicky Pratt also joins us this evening. Good evening, Vicky. Jamie Miller, Square Road and Race. Of course, Jeremy Evans, as mentioned before. Good evening, Jeremy. Cameron Bell Racing, one of our wonderful ambassadors, also joins us this evening. So, PDC Racing. Who wants to jump on first? How did it start? Where did your racing journey start? Shall we go with Gavin? Where did it start for you?
Shall I start on that then? So my journey individually started before PDC, I think, as probably Pips did as well. I started racing karts in my 20s. As a youngster, I used to go to Alton Park with my dad, but there wasn't that much money in the family. It's a common story for lots of people, I think. And started racing a lot later. Loved the sport from a young age. Loved competition. Couldn't afford it, to be quite honest. Which brings us to some sponsorship later. So I started racing karts in my 20s. Did a little bit of TKM. That was good fun. Wanted to race cars. Couldn't afford it. A friend of mine, Chris Jonah, you may know him, you may not. Done a bit of racing himself. Offered to support us a little bit. With the Fiestas, started racing Fiestas as part of Skywheels Racing, where we met Ryan Lowry.
Now,
God bless him, what a legend.
Can I just interject there? Now, we spoke about this just before we went out on air. Skywheels is probably one of the most iconic, ironic sponsors to have on the side of your car when this happens.
Yes.
Oh, dear. Look at that.
Set the scene for us, Gav. Come on.
Well, I think it's fair to say, since I met Pip and Esther and Jason Wood and others at PDC, car preparation certainly improved. But back in the day, and I did have a few guys helping me who were brilliant, but I didn't know what I was doing. You just turned up at the track, you got in your car and you drove it, and that's probably why I wasn't very good. Well, I'm actually not very good, but you can blame the car. So stub axle snapped at Cadwell Park. Yeah, and that was that. Thankfully, it didn't roll over on the grass. It just span around on the track a bit and looked all dramatic. But yeah, stub axle. What can you do?
Classic XR2 stub
I was going to say that's a common thing on those, isn't it? We've seen a few photos in our time that they've. There you go. I bet it's quite a hairy moment.
It was, but it happened quite quick. It's a shame Steve caught it on the way down, because it was actually, I was looking down at the track. It was quite cool. But Autosport thought to put it in their magazine, so that's my only entry into Autosport. But never mind.
That's all right. You've made it into Autosport.
You also, so obviously you started off in classic stock hatch, which we will come to, because I do think over the years that's been one of the best club series in the UK, bar none.
Yep.
So you also had this little Peugeot 205. Was this after or before you had the XR2?
So I had that after, and there's a story to that car. So I convinced myself that I was brilliant and the car was rubbish. So I bought a front-running car and tested at Silverstone, and time said, "Oh, you know, you may be 9th or 10th in classic stock catch," which to me was mega because it's a really tough championship. Raced the next day, I think I came 15th or 16th, absolutely nowhere, dead slow, and decided that car must be rubbish as well, and moved it on. and ironically, that car and moving that car on, and the decision and conversations with Pip at the weekend at Silverstone of owning that car brought us to PDC Racing. Me and Pip had a discussion. We went on to buy Alistair Kirkham's. You may know Alistair Kirkham, multiple 924 champion and top bloke. We went on to buy his old 924, and that was, I think, for me and Pip, where the race in the 924 came together. We shared a season in that in 2016. Pip won. I kept coming at the back, but learned a hell of a lot from him through that season. And then 2017, we got 2 cars out on the grid. I won't go into too much detail, because I'll take some of the story away from Pip, because he was involved in all of this, and Esther was as well. So we had 2 cars on the grid 2017. Pip won the championship, I came 2nd. Ryan came 3rd. And then in 2018, Pip left me alone and let me have a go, and I managed to win it in 2018. We then raced a Boxster and a Lotus together in 2019 in Club Enduro with Esther, sort of team manager and sort of pit manager, and helping us along with that. And then I went back to a 924 in HSCC, did a little bit there. That was interesting. Tried to road drive the car for points, drove it all the way to Brands Hatch, didn't miss a beat, and the alternator failed when we got to the paddock, and didn't make the race for one thing or another. There's more to it. But following that, Esther and Pip built us a new engine and went out to Mallory Park and won, put it on pole in the Gold Cup in class, had a good time with that. And then decided to go for the EP3, saw the 750 Motor Club deal on the foundation package, and thought it was a cost-effective way to go Type R racing. Team are really busy, everyone's doing lots of good things, so signed up with Motion Motorsport for them to run the car for us this season, and enjoying it. It's not going as well as I'd like results-wise, but must be the car, wasn't it? They're good people, and you know, it's a privilege to be racing, isn't it? So enjoying that.
I just want to come out. I mean, you say about Alistair Kirkham there, so you guys must have just joined the 924 paddock as I came out of it, because I was on the Spanners. So I know of Alistair Kirkham, Andrew Hannington, Rebecca Jackson, Paul Bravo, Jay Flegg, all those guys. Great series to be a part of.
We bought the Boxster off Jay Flegg, actually. He's a great bloke. And yeah, all those guys were there. Linda Warren was there and a few others. But
Carl Robson. Great. It's a shame not to see it as big as it did get in sort of 2011, 2012, 13, and then it kind of slowly dwindled.
It had so much potential, I think. And yeah, the PDA was going as it was, and then I think the numbers just dropped, and I think we did something else, and sadly it demised. You've got Calm now, the All Porsche Trophy that Phil and Ryan set up. And I think that seems to be growing and doing a good job. I know Pip's raced in it, so brief history.
And it's great to see. Now I'm going to put Steph on his toes here. I'm going to read some more of the comments out after we have a short sponsor video from Silver Lake.
So then, guys, if you're looking for quality recycled parts for your race car, head over to silverlake.co.uk.
There we go. Right. Back to some comments. They're actually running a bit dry this evening. Come on, guys. If you are watching, get your comments in. Ben Griffiths, how is Rob's hair shinier than Nick's fod? It's pure and simple. I just threw some water over myself before the show because I'm absolutely roasting. It's muggy. It's hot. And Jeremy Evans, quite simply, everyone loves an EP3, in particular Nick.
Everyone loves
Gavin,
an EP3.
Everyone loves an EP3.
I was just going to say, all jokes aside, I do really love a 924 Porsche race car. They're pretty looking cars, though.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Better than you get credit for, I think.
Oh, yeah. I want to own a Porsche one day, but a 924 race car would be wicked.
It would be.
Are you interested? Is that...
No.
Never raced or rallied.
Needs a little work right now.
Yeah, we did see.
Right, now just quickly, guys. So James Nunn has commented in. So front wheel drive or rear wheel drive. So I'll put that to you three because I know Pip. So you've raced. I sort of associate you more with the Nova, but you have won. So you've won the championship in the 924 and in the Nova. You've won the classic stock hatch. So what do you prefer, front or rear wheel drive?
I like my front wheel drive stuff. Like I like my little 80s rock boxes. That's my sweet spot. So I mean I have raced all sorts of things, as you say. I had a little play with some ovals a few years ago with some big V8s out there, and that was good fun. And I liked it because it was completely different. But the front wheel drive stuff is just that. Like I say, that's my sweet spot. That's where I feel really comfortable, and I need no practice in that car. It's just like lap 2 would be the fastest lap I do all day. Like it's,
straight up to speed.
Yeah. So it takes me a little bit longer in rear wheel drive. I feel like I get there, but and then I ride at the back of another car that's trying to enter the pits at Thruxton. So we'll maybe touch on that later.
Yes, we were just talking before the show, and there was a comment that you may have put into the group chat for the podcast. You weren't too happy, were you? But we'll come to that. That's fair enough. We'll come to that. So, Pip, how did your racing journey begin for you? Was it straight into classic stock hatch? Did you do the karting before that, or?
No. Well, we had a team at university, although we didn't officially have a team. We didn't get to do the Club 100 stuff. So. Not really is the answer to that question. It was so at 21 I went into stock hatch. I sort of started mid-season in 2008, and I knew nothing. It was just me and my dad, 30 psi and all the tyres. Just turn up and hope. And I was quite lucky. Like generally everything just sort of worked, which has been a theme kind of for how I've made it to 35 years old. Actually, look at Esther's smile on that one.
Everything just works out, Pip. It's the most annoying thing ever.
And I think the naivety must have been charming enough that there was people helping me. I do just realise I was probably going to hurt myself if I just pressed on regardless, like I was doing every time. So I met Rich Hibbert about that time as a mechanic at a garage, who has become a very good friend of ours, who's done a lot of work on, apart from Gavin's EP3, which is run by Motion. Rich has had a hand in every car we've ever done. Very much our secret weapon over sort of 14 years that I've been doing racing now. So it was straight into what was stock hatch Class B at the time. In 2008, I was number 124 because I was the 124th entrant that year. So it was a real boom time for that series. I
mean, going on that, so that would have been the time where it was basically Saxo for like 60 cars, and then Class B, what classic stock hatch is now. Yeah. But it was so competitive.
Yeah, 26th and first in class. That was that was the sweet spot when I was there. It was, and there were certain tracks where we could get a bit closer, and certain tracks were quite a lot further away. The thing is, nobody else kept making performance 8-valve 1600s past 1992, apart from France. So so it was only Saxos and 106s that were the only modern cars there. There was a Sport KA for a little while. There was a
C2.
A C2 VTS, Maurice Hayden's car, and I can't remember the name of the other lad now, but Maurice put a lot of time into trying to develop that. I think he got a win at Alton Park, but it was just so much more expensive to do than the Saxo that the Saxo just became sort of the nexus point, and there were no other vehicles in the series when eventually the classics for the older cars split off, and it was the best thing that could have happened because the numbers were dropping, and it came up to sort of 25. We sort of peaked at around 32 cars. It's typically 20 to 25 now. That's, apart from Pembury, everyone struggles there. So it's still good. It's still very competitive. The cars are getting a little bit more expensive to buy in now and a bit more difficult to find spares for. But as long as we keep on top with the regs and make sure if something's not available anymore, we make an accommodation, something modified that we wouldn't have allowed before. Just make it easy to go racing. That's the key. Make sure that there's something that's not really going to make you any faster that you can buy from Tweaks, and you'll get it tomorrow, instead of having to trawl through the droves of Facebook Marketplace to find like a rotten anti-roll bar bush or something like that. So I mean, like I say, I got through that really cool sort of boom time with a stock hatch where we had heat races. So you might even get like 4 races in the weekend for your money, if you were just the right level of not quite fast enough. So yeah, you'd be out there so much, and there was so much more practice then. By being in the car, even if you weren't tested, you were just driving all the time. So that was cool, and it's not like that anymore. But it's distilled itself quite nicely to a good level of competitive with drivers who don't constantly take each other out, like the good old bad old days. So
The good old bad old days.
I can imagine. I mean, we've got a picture here. I mean,
look at that.
We joke about Ford versus Vauxhall. I have an appreciation for the Vauxhall Nova. It is one of the most underrated hot hatches of the 80s. I can completely agree with you there.
What a car.
I will point out my car not photographed there. My car doesn't look like that, unfortunately. So, but the other cars all look really good. So
they're the PDC builds, aren't they? Are they? Well, probably some of your 2 works, I guess, with Jason and everyone else putting them 3 together.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously now we're classic stock hatch, so you've still got that steady grid of cars going in there, and with allowing of the more modern parts to come in to keep everything more sustainable. So is there like an understanding among you that if you do race a bit too hard and take each other out, you're literally going to have less cars on the grid because it's a lot more difficult to get parts for, I guess?
You'd like to think so. I mean,
that was very diplomatic.
Because it's so close, there's always going to be contact. I mean, you guys are from the KA series a bit. You'll know that. It's whenever the cars are close, they're probably going to hit each other. So
yeah,
you can be thankful that it's close, and you sort of judge your racing off who's definitely going to work tomorrow and who's booked a day off. So they're less bothered about the amount of damage they take home.
Like it.
And a couple of drivers are a bit too excitable in the heat of battle. But generally, the racing's good. You know, there's none of this F1 shove each other off on the exit sort of stuff. It's usually pretty much on the level. But you know, if there is tarmac the other side of the white line, maybe you will get shoveled off. But if it's grass, it tends not to be, and that speaks a lot of the series. There's nobody in there spending a fortune on these cars. There's nobody spending so much that they could entirely rebuild the thing or have it looking brand new every week. So it's good in that respect. Yeah, and it keeps everybody on a similar level. And there's so many different winners from different models of car in each season that you could assume there's some level of parity. There's always one that tends to creep away a little bit and then everyone comes back, or you get booted off the drivers' committee and the rules change, make your car heavier. It's never happened to me before, honest.
I'll take a sponsor break.
You know, I mean, you never get away from politics in racing. There's always something, but
always.
It does manage to exist in a sort of uneasy equilibrium where, you know, your Fords, Peugeots, Vauxhalls, everyone's sort of doesn't think it's fair, but it works out as being pretty close every year. So
and that's the great thing about the series, isn't it? There's so many cool different cars in that series, and they're all so close together. That's what appealed to me. So obviously, the reason I wanted to get you guys on for so long is Pip, I first met you through the classic stock hatch, because it was always something that appealed to me, something I always wanted to get into, especially obviously being a Vauxhall man. But then, when you're racing the likes of XR2s and, you know, Peugeots and this, that and the other, it's just a great grid to be. It looks like a great grid. The racing always looked like proper racing, which is what always appealed to me. Door to door, but not shoveling each other off. It was good.
Good. I mean, there aren't many very close intermark series like that.
No.
You know, there's lots of really good close one make stuff out there. That there's very little that's in that similar vein still, where there is still a balance of performance between multiple models of car, and there isn't one particular that you'd say was dominant. You know, that can always change. You know, it would probably only take a very well organised group with a bit of with more resources behind them to take one model and do something with it, and then it would be on the club to make sure the rules rein that in. And I think the 750 Motor Club learned that lesson with the original Stock Axe Championship when the Saxos and the like became unbeatable, and that's why we got the Classics its own thing. So hopefully all the lessons that needed to be learned have been learned. You know, a lot of the names that were racing when I started in Stock Axe are still around doing either Stock Axe still or other things. So everyone's come through the period where it got unbalanced, and as I say, it seems to be ticking along nicely at the minute. We just make sure the grids keep up. There's loads of cars out there that aren't being raced by people who don't want to sell them because we can't replace them for the value they hold now. So that's going to be the difficult spot. That's going to be where any sort of future troubles come for classic Stock Axe, because I mean, I won't sell mine and I only race it a couple of times a year. So at the minute, so it's, you know, it's making sure that the cars circulate back into the series rather than just sit and wait to
sit in a shed somewhere.
Pop up on eBay with no reserve in 7 years' time. So it's mind you, that half the cars on the grid got there that way. So it's
yeah.
Right, guys.
Started life in a McDonald's car park with some trays underneath it.
Or just don't do what Top Gear did and keep rolling one into the bushes.
True.
Right, guys, we're just going to take a quick break there and hear from our sponsors at PDC Racing. Come on, Steph.
Hi guys, we're just here checking out EBC. If you're looking to save seconds on your lap time, then make sure you check out their new range of race pads. They've got them all shapes, sizes, all different compounds to suit whatever racing you're doing. So make sure you go to the website and check them out.
I've never known Stefan to talk so quickly. It's almost like he's sped up.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I was clearly in a rush for something.
Right. Esther, thank you for joining us. Sorry, Steph. Esther, you've been waiting so patiently. We're half an hour into the show. You've been waiting so patiently. And you've paid for the premium Wi-Fi to join us. So we need to come to you. Right, so... Esther, how did your journey in PDC Racing start for you?
So I did a PhD in engineering, and Imran Khan was there. So he's a racer as well, and he knew Pip. So then when I had a barbecue, Pip got invited. I got a little bit drunk and started to complain about not having a classic car to tinker with and things. Because I built a car with my England, and then Pip said that he'd just bought a Porsche 924 with Gavin, and so I could come and help him out. What he didn't say was that it was in a tent with his parents' garden, and it was freezing cold, and it was all bodywork, and it was rubbish. Spent a cold winter helping him out there, and then went to Snetterton, saw him win. Decided to go out with him, and then decided I spanned for a year and a bit, and then I thought, well, I might as well get in the driving seat, because the feedback they were giving me was rubbish, and I didn't know what it felt like myself. So got my arts test. The first race I did was classic Stock Axe. So yeah, and then I haven't raced much. I'm more of an enduro racer than a short. Got 2 CV 24 person and road sports. That's where I'm at.
Okay. I just want to come back on what you said before. So you said you went and watched Pip race and win at Snet. So if he hadn't have won, you wouldn't have gone out with him. That's what I was. Is that what sealed the deal? Was it had to be a podium, or?
No, like it just happened that way. But it does mean that we have a trophy with like the anniversary of us going out. So whenever we forget our like debut anniversary, we can always just look to the trophy and be like, okay, we were both wrong. It was just a coincidence, but yeah.
I don't think. To be fair, that is awesome. There's probably no other couple in the world that can actually look up their anniversary date by just looking at the winner's trophy up on the wall. That's great.
Well,
I love that.
That is cool.
Pip has a lot of trophies, so you do have to be like, which one is the right one?
I love that. I love that. Right. So we've got 2 video clips that Gavin sent across to us. So Steph, if you could just play both one after the other, and then we'll talk about it, because this might be quite a poignant moment for you guys.
They fly up through Chris Curve and they will drop down to the gooseneck in a moment. Ryan Lowry losing the car slightly as they go through Chris Curve. But somehow he manages to keep the car in a straight line. So tight, so twisty here. They call this the Mini Nurburgring, and it's no surprise why. Through the gooseneck, dropping down the hill to Mansfield, and Hammond is already starting to get into the Porsche Boxster of Churchill, and he goes through. Hammond so quick in 2017. Ryan Lowry looks like he's going to go with him as they go on the short stretch. Oh, running out of space as he makes his way to the mountain. But Lowry goes through. That was brave from Ryan Lowry, and he makes the move stick as they go up the mountain. Meanwhile, Ryan Lowry is going to do the same thing. Coleman takes his first win of the 2017 season, and if Ryan Lowry hangs on to it, he is going to win his first race of the 2017 season too in the 924 class. Through grey stands. Come on, Ryan, you can do it, buddy. Hold on to it. He's worked so hard all season as Ryan Lowry. He's got the PDC Racing boys hot on his heels, Gavin Johnson and Pip Hammond. And it would be amazing for Ryan Lowry not only to win this race, but to do so with the dominant force of the PDC Racing boys behind him. He looks behind him. Not too much, Ryan. Keep an eye on what's going on ahead of you as well. Make sure you get your braking zone for the chicane. And I think Ryan Lowry is going to do it. He's worked so hard all season, and this win is a long time coming, but thoroughly, thoroughly deserved. Out of the final corner, back on the throttle. Well done, Ryan Lowry. At last, a victory in 2017. He's done it, and he's delighted. Johnson second, Hammond third.
Right. So, quite simply, guys, tell us about Ryan.
Who wants to start? What a great bloke. No longer with us, unfortunately. But when I started racing, I don't think I'd have met these 2 guys on the call if it wasn't for Ryan. Certainly, and had some really positive experiences with him. He, when I wanted to start racing, I looked on the Classic Stock Hatch group, and he invited me to Stockport, where he lived, and his dad had a unit. Showed me the cars, made me feel welcome, told me everything I need to know about racing. You know, a lot of people struggle getting into it because they don't know what to do. They feel a bit silly. You don't just want to ask someone. You know, Ryan really sort of encouraged me. I went up with my family and met him. We got the cars. Ryan sort of trailed us around the country, tried to help us out. First race at Brands Hatch, never really knew the fella. He's up at 2 o'clock in the morning with a beer, keeping us space in the paddock, which you probably all know is a bit of a challenge in itself, fending people off. And they were sort of my first memories of Ryan. Raced with him for years. He was a pretty tough racer. He paced me in Classic Stock Hatch. We got into Porsches and had some good racing between us. Went door to door a few times, and I took him out at Brands Hatch and got in a bit of trouble, and not intentionally. We both ended up in Andy Holly's office, who you'll probably know now is the W Series, I think, race director. Andy gave me a ticking off. Ryan saw my footage, saw that I didn't turn into him. My car just understeered. Dropped his appeal, shook my hand, and we left the office. And I came second that year, and I think I'd have been third to him if he'd pursued his appeal. And that was, you know, sort of the character of him. I think outside of racing, just a great bloke. You know, he sort of fostered kids and tried to give homes to kids and experience to them who wouldn't have it normally, you know. And him, Michelle, his family, Andy, Shani, his brothers, just a great group of people, to be honest. And thoroughly enjoyed our time racing with him. I think as a team, PDC had a lot of respect for him, and I'll let Esther and Pip jump in. He was just a good friend, good racer, really good racer, and just sad he's no longer with us, really, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Ryan was, like, when we went so hard on the Porsche 924s that year, like, we sort of made the comment that we were going to have to, like, live it to deliver, what we wanted with the success we wanted, and we were starting to get the mick taken out of us for all these logos and stuff, for trying to do it right with all the sponsors and stuff. And Ryan obviously had all the rest of his life going on in the background that we sort of put on hold for a year, and he still ran us so close as a driver, and he was still very decent about it. He wasn't moaning that like there was more resource on our side to get to make those results and stuff like we're all prone to do when we get beat if we get beaten by anybody. Every fight was a fair fight with Ryan, and the clip there at Rockingham where he beat us in a. And we couldn't have tried much harder. We were on him there at the finish. I knew him more as a racer than as a person, although he did let me tag along on his backup stag do once upon a time when I just happened to be around. I happened to be around, so he's like, "Yeah, come out and drink some zombies with us in some basement bar in Manchester." So, good time. Really nice guy, and as Gavin said, a massive shame he's no longer with us.
Anything to add, Esther?
No, I mean, these guys knew him more than me, but you could tell, even with a small interaction, he was just a genuinely nice, decent guy, and it's such a shame.
Just to add to that, actually, I just remembered a story when you mentioned that, Esther. We went to Spa with him, myself, my dad, and one of the team, a guy called David Sheeky, who went to Spa to watch the British GTs. And Chris Jones, who supported us from Sky Wheels, was racing a Ginetta out there. He was actually Ollie Chadwick's teammate for a little while at Zentech. And we went out to Spa, and Ryan got pulled we were late for the ferry, and Ryan got pulled by the police in the port for speeding, and told him he was a racing driver, and the police told him he was an idiot, and that's quite a fond memory that we all have. And he just got told square, straight through the window, "I'm a racing driver." "No, you're an idiot." And he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll stop there." And we had a good jolly for 3 or 4 days out in Spa watching the racing out there. But fond memories of a good bloke, I think, and we had a bit to do with him. So.
Love it, guys. I had to get that in there. I mean, obviously, it's a shame with what happened to Ryan. He's no longer with us. But is it my understanding, so the 924 you race now, you still carry his race number?
Yeah, it's worth mentioning, actually. The Racing for Ryan charity, and I think Raising for Ryan now, that his family, that his wife Michelle and Shani and his dad Andy have set up, exists, and they do things every year. We've done a few bike rides with them to raise money. But we run his logos on the car, the Racing for Ryan logos, and we run the number 111, his number. He wanted number 11, and he was number 11 historically. And Andy Pritchard won't mind me saying that there was a bit of fun because Andy got his number 11 for the season, and Ryan still won 11, so he ran 111 because it was close enough. And we were permitted by HSCC, another great group, to run 111 on our car. I think even though they don't like 3 numbers, in memory to him. So yeah, that was pretty cool, I think.
That's a great touch. That's a great touch, guys. Well done there. That's fantastic. Right, I just want to tell the lovely boys and girls out there about marketing delivery, and most importantly, what happens when you combine data-driven marketing and software as a service. You get Marketing Delivery Voice Box, which can assist you with automatic posting all your social media to increase your presence on a race weekend. Get in touch with Marketing Delivery or Jeremy Evans to find out more. Right, so the Boxster. So you've got some really impressive photos here. I'll just bring this one up because you get the scale of the background. I mean, look at the background. That's astounding.
That is mad.
That's a cool photo.
Cadwell Park on a sunny day. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Cadwell Park like I'm a 100-metre sprinter. It's obviously you take the car out and do club endurance at Spa. First of all, what was that like? And how did the Boxster journey start for you guys with Club Enduro?
Do you want to go on that, Pip? I've talked a lot, or do you want me to?
I'll go. Well, we only took ownership of the car about 2 weeks before that race. Don't get into it too much in a very public way, but we split with the team that we drove for in the first 2 rounds. Quite messy, not over it. And we bought this Boxster, missing quite a lot of parts, non-runner, and with the intention of trying to get it ready to throw it straight on the ferry and go race it in Belgium. So that was.
Pip brings it back, and he's like, "We've got like 10 days to get this like looking good and nice," and I'm like, "No way." And we did the wrap ourselves, so me and Pip did it, and I've got Tourette's. And getting someone with Tourette's to like slowly like stretch, and if you've ever wrapped a car, it's a coupling test. It's horrific. You never do it with them ever again. But it came out okay. So yeah.
Well, it's my understanding if you
keep that in mind, Steph.
Yeah.
You two have got that to look forward to. It was bad enough when I was just doing the back end of my car, the boot lid, and the odd bit on the sides. I mean, it's the most stressful thing you can do to a race car. But because it's a race car, the 10-metre rule applies. If it looks good from 10 metres, it's all good. And that looks a beautiful car. So you guys did an awesome job.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I digress anyway. So carry on. So you've put the car together and you've taken it to Belgium.
Yeah, well, because generally with the Boxsters, people don't take the original like ignition out of them and stuff. They start them on the key because it's too hard to work around it. Yeah. We didn't have a key when we bought the car, so we'd started work on it without knowing what sort of state it was in. It was missing 2 of the 3 radiators, so we couldn't even if we had started it, we couldn't run it for any length of time sensibly, and a load of other parts. So we were sort of doing body work and wrapping it while body panels were still in the post arriving, and obviously the radiators and stuff. A friend of mine put me in touch with a fella called Spud from Scunthorpe who could make us a key if we dropped him off the ignition barrel and the ECU. So yeah, it just just went and met him and dropped that off and got a call a couple of days later. Yeah, it's ready for you. So that was the first time we ran it. Probably about 4 days before we needed it. That sounds all right. And I think it wasn't without faults. Like when we got to Spa, we found out one of the dampers had gone, so we were bouncing up Eau Rouge on one rear damper is quite exciting. But we didn't know. We didn't know any better. But Jason Flegg, you mentioned earlier, he was in the race as well with Jamie Callender in his Boxster, and they had a failure with their car, so we ended up stealing one of their dampers for race 2. So that was that was quite cool. As far as the race goes, I remember very little because we didn't sleep a lot for about 2 weeks. So it was. I remember. Yeah. I mean, I remember watching the temperature gauge climbing on the camper while we were towing the Boxster and going through the mountains. That was worrying. And I remember Gavin was faster than me that weekend, which not over that either. So. Well,
I'm going to take the inches. Where I can get them.
One of the things we learned about the car was that they, when you take the soft top unit out, there's no drains for water. So from the time it started raining, as it was always going to do, from the first sprinkles on the screen to the point where I couldn't see anymore, is like under 90 seconds. And it was so bad that it got so greasy on the inside of the screen that I couldn't even wipe it with like the back of my glove. And I came down the pit lane with my hand out the window to feel the wall because I couldn't see anymore.
What?
Which was the window hole was obviously just a big circular hole drilled with a hole saw in the perspex, so it wasn't really where I wanted. It was like a bit behind me as well, so not getting full extension on that. And then I will never know who it was because I didn't know where to stop in the pit lane because I couldn't see. Just a good Samaritan opened the door, wiped a load of magic spray on the screen, and sent me on my way. So, right. And we ended up coming 6th. It was the first race. It was the first time we'd really, we did a few shakedown laps at Blyton, but it was the first time we'd driven the car in anger. I think we were 6th that day, 4th in race 2. Never quite got a win with that car, but we had a string of podiums at the end of the year and wound up 2nd in the championship. So for missing the first 2 rounds, because you only score for your team in that series, or at least that was the case then. So we did have some points on the board, but we couldn't have them for our new car. So, which is a bit of a quirk of how that works. And we wound up 2nd in the championship. So it's the only car to date we've ever made a profit on, because we bought it in the state it was and elevated it, and then we had to sell it to recoup everything we lost in the first 2 rounds. So, is that the? Will I get away with that one? Is that okay?
Yeah. Tell you what, should we divert it very quickly? I'll take it to some comments.
Perfect.
Let's do comments.
Actually, first of all, I'll just check in. Nick, how are you?
Great.
Cool.
It's fine. It's fine.
He
I'm
looks
still
fine.
alive. Here too.
Hashtag pray for Nick. Right, back to the comments. There's been loads coming, so thank you. Keep the comments coming. Ben Griffiths, right? I'm not going to say one particular word. I'll let the visual listeners. It's describing that Nova is in my 90s raunchy material. Proper.
If there's some things I never want to see in life, it's his bank, shall we say.
Yeah. We'll just leave that there.
A man would scare me.
Lee Lappy Husker, Fiesta XR2 is a great car. I'd love to see more in classic stock hatch. Here. I'd love to be honest. I'd love to see more Novas in stock hatch as well. There needs to be a few more dug out, I think. Not enough.
They all got stolen, didn't they? Because all you had to do was take the hazard switch out, flip it round, put it back in. You could fire the car up.
That's a very good point. See, Pip starts out with a Nova. Obviously, moves on to the Boxster with no key. He thought he could just take the button out, turn it upside. Didn't you, Pip? You thought that.
Hello, Nova owner.
Well, you both sort of sat there like it's not bloody working. I love that. Right, Ben Griffiths also says DDMC are at Anglesey Circuit Trackmon this weekend. Full grid both days. 40 cars on the GP. Great to see. What a circuit Anglesey is.
That'd be a good one.
James Nunn asks, is it possible to build a career in club motorsport as a preparer or something similar, or do you need income from a separate source? I think that's to you three, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we know James well. I've never made any money at racing. I don't know if any of you guys have. I mean, I'm sure people do. It probably is possible. You've got to really back yourself. It's one of the reasons I've never done any car prep for other people for money. Obviously, when me and Gavin sort of got together to race the 924 was really the first time I worked on anything for someone else, even though I was going to get to drive it for half the time. So, like I say, you really have to have a lot of confidence in yourself if you want to do it without flagging it, I think. And I think if I was in that position, I would be flagging it because I know the corners I'm willing to cut to put a car out on the track, and I wouldn't be confident charging a lot of money to do so. So I don't know how everyone else feels about that, because obviously we've all benefited from the cars that we've put out there. You know, me, Esther, and Gavin. So it's I would feel bad taking money to prepare cars to the level that I do.
I think you're doing yourself a disservice there, mate. I think.
That's very nice of you to say.
I think, like, if you did it as a full-time job, I think you might be taking it like, just as Rene's never made any money at it kind of thing. I think for me, like, too many project cars in there I used to get to first, I think, before I started making any money at racing. Somebody must have it.
Yeah, I think there's an economy there for it. I think in HSCC, James knows very well, I think there's a lot of expensive cars, you know, and there's people who are happy to invest in motorsport where there's potential. I think from the instructing side, we might come to it later with Pip and others, I think there's a certain volatility to it. I mean, I'm old, I'm 41 with 3 kids, and not that I can prepare a car, I can barely cut the grass, to be fair, and I'm so grateful for the other 2 people on the call and PDC for looking after me. But, you know, if I could, I'd still think about the stability of it, you know, in the longer term. I think, as Pip said, you've got to really commit. That's got to be who you are and what you do, and you've got to put everything into it for a longer period of time. Probably get some preparers on here and go, you haven't got a clue. But to me, there has to be a stability to it, an economy to it. And, you know, when your clients are either individuals, unless you're working professionally for a race team, you're reliant on their perspective, their attitude, their behaviours and their desires on a year-by-year basis, I guess, or even month by month, because motorsport's not cheap, unfortunately, is it?
Absolutely
No.
not.
The costs are certainly rising at the moment, certainly at the fuel pumps, that's for sure. Ben Griffiths also came up. He said Pip Hammond had a great point. I think you were mentioning about classic stock hatch being a multi-make grid that is so close. And again,
yes. Well, that is the beauty of it. That's what attracted me to it in the first place, and probably Nick as well when he was looking at getting into it. Just for the fact that you can align with your favourite brand to an extent. I mean, there aren't any sort of Japanese cars on there because it wouldn't be fair on the rest of us. But you can sort of align to the car that you enjoyed in the 80s, or the brand that matters to you now if you're younger. Because there are some younger drivers in it now. I think there was a period where we didn't have any drivers under 30 because the cars are so of an era. But we've got a few younger drivers coming through and. In there, which is quite cool.
Please tell me they know what they're actually driving.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, you probably see more of them in our series now than you do on the road, which is the worry, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? They're not something you can just go out and buy now that haven't been modified, put around a tree, handbrake turns in McDonald's, etc. Because they are, like I say, they're 90s hot hatches. That's 30 odd years ago, guys.
God.
I mean, the good thing for us with PDC, because we have so many of the cars, and it's known to an extent that occasionally we'll be offered a shell, like somebody's had all the good bits off it and just needs to get rid of it. So at least there's a bit of sort of welcome notoriety in that respect, where people might come to us if they're getting rid. So it's a little bit easier to find on our side. There are a couple of other Novas in the series that aren't through us. There's Ted Cooper, who's not racing at the minute. He's had a child recently. And there's Kate Adams, who's been threatening to join us for maybe 8 years. He's got the car more or less built, but I think just the sheer cost of getting out there is probably keeping Kate away.
Just life, isn't it?
There are more cars out there, and we always want more. But in the past we've even had Metros. There's a Metro joining the grid very soon, actually. Chris Deer's father. Chris is second in the series at the minute, and we used to have a couple of the old sort of wedgy Swift GTIs as well.
The proper old school Suzuki Swifts, like the first generation. Yeah, because weren't they a 1.4 16 valve or something silly?
I think they're 1.3s. Certainly fast. Sounds like a motorbike alongside you. But they're very light. That's this balance of performance with the regs. Is they're sub 800 kilos, including the driver, to bring them on power to weight. So it doesn't make a huge difference. I mean, Andy Thorpe races a 1400 8-valve Citroen AX, but it's light, so it makes it probably additional success ballast probably hurts him a bit more because it's a larger percentage of the overall weight. But sort of unballasted, that's as fast as any car out there, and he's a good driver too. So shame he's not raced as much in the last couple of years, but the car's still out there. We just need to get everyone to come and play at the same time. But that's very hypocritical for me because I only did the first round this year. So
I think as well as the cars being great, the people are great as well, because we did a Boxster. We had to do in the Boxster. We had to do a tyre change, and we just happened to be outside a load of classic stock hatch, and they were like, "What do you need?" Serum and the jack and the torque wrench and stuff, and the people make all the difference as well in that.
Did the driver end up with the beer? The driver's just like, "Thank you, you lot sort the wheel change yet."
Well, the thing is, I'd given everyone jobs, and Pip came out, and Pip thought that he was in his NASCAR moment, and he grabbed the jack and he went under a NASCAR pit crew. Yeah. Thing.
I was living like an AJ Foyt fantasy where I was going to get out and fix the car myself. When I didn't realize Esther had assembled 12 drivers and friends from Classic Stock Hatch who'd all brought their own tools because we decided on the fly to change tyres in the middle of the race. We'd never done it before. It had just gone from wet to dry, and we got a safety car, Snetterton 300. So the longest possible time you could have to change tyres. And yeah, if it they got it done. Esther got that all organised really well. And if I hadn't have jumped out of the car and grabbed the jack and tried to do it myself, then it probably would have been even quicker. So.
That'll learn, yeah.
Pip, you live and learn, I guess, mate. You live and learn. Back to the comments. I mean, these are some corkers here. Someone of the name Billy Wood, obviously referring to the story earlier on where Gav was faster. Only time Gav's been faster than Pip.
Now that's not very nice, is it? It might be true, but there's no need for that, is there?
Just quickly, you finished in front of him in that Rockingham clip as well.
I'll be honest, Pip was very magnanimous about that, but he was actually running on a lower powered engine that day, and I don't mind admitting it. What I would say though, and we might argue over it, is I think he had 3 laps before the engine blew up, and I managed to just beat him. And he's normally quick at the beginning of qualifying, so I'm gonna call it 1.5, but he's very fast, isn't he? And I'm quite happy that people are better than me if I can learn from him. And if I get my bit as well, racing's about levels, isn't it? We're not all Lewis Hamilton, and
absolutely.
I'm cool with that.
I know, absolutely. Right, back to the comments.
Thanks, Billy. Thanks.
Yeah. But back to the comments here, because something we should have really started on with the start of our show. I've got to mention this lady here. It's not Dawn Boyd anymore. It's Dawn Butcher. Hi guys,
hey.
Not forgotten you. Taking an enforced break, but we'll be back as a husband and wife team. Of course they're going to be, because
we got married.
Our former ambassador, Dawn, as she was known then, Dawn Boyd, of the B42's Marshall Racing team, she got married. And very nice ceremony, nice, very close. So congratulations from all of us. We hope you have a wonderful time.
Guys.
Hopefully we will get them on later on in the year as a catch-up with our previous ambassadors. So watch out for that show later on in the year. Johnny, good. We've got a few stragglers as well that have decided to join us. 8 o'clock, guys. The show starts at 8 o'clock. Johnny Berry, Chris Pearson, Andrew Butcher, Matt Clary. Sorry I'm late. Come to the party. Lad's just done his primary school leavers play with the lead role. Absolutely nailed it. So proud of him with the problems he has. Next thing is to get him to the grid of a car race. Love it, Matt. Keep going.
Yes, he'll have some cool stickers to show off as well, won't he?
He certainly will do. He certainly will do. Right, so a question for you guys from our ambassador, Cameron Bell Racing, actually. What does PDC stand for in PDC Racing?
Does everyone look at the t-shirts to see what it is?
Yeah. So, Jason Wood, our teammate, he has business power distribution control, electrical contractors. I work for Jason, so I've always been the pity vote where he let me have a job, so so we could go racing. And he's put a lot into the team. He's took some big risks on us as well, like the Boxster in particular. When we go back to that story, but Jason sort of gradually acquired quite a few cars for the classic stock hatch and built them, to a very high standard as well. So the other drivers in the team, like Peter Osgerby, David Sheekey's benefited. We sort of had, we ran a car that we built more or less out of the spares that we had from all the other cars as a bit of a guest car. So Imran Khan, that Esther mentioned earlier, drove with us, Steve Potts and a couple of others. So it's, so power distribution control, mainly industrial electrical contractors, anywhere that sort of makes dust of any sort of form, like cement or lime, that kind of thing. You usually find us sort of ankle deep in something, dragging cables through quarries and factories. So,
love it. Props to the Sparkies. Woo! Just for the two to the right of me, guys. We are wizards. Just so you know.
No.
Well, I told Jason this already, so it's not a secret. I pretty much broke everything I touched for the last 2 days. I've had a really, really bad time on the breakdown. So
that's pretty much the story of my life. I've been off work for about 2 weeks now, so thankfully,
nothing's broke for 2 weeks.
No.
What's this?
Job creation, quiet. Job creation.
What's this dramatic increase in productivity we're experiencing?
A question I have for you guys, because it's a sponsor that is quite prominent on your cars, RS Components. I mean, I use them for my work. They're quite an internationally known brand. So how did that tie up sort of happen?
Yeah, I'll start the Pip, you speaking then? Sorry, mate.
Well, I'll just jump in with how that sort of began. We initially had a relationship with a company called Munition, and I think very important for us to mention Paul and Rob from Munition, because they were a big
100%.
part of bringing the support to us when they knew there was a takeover imminent, and making sure that relationship was in place. So I just wanted to make sure they got a little mention there, because they were a big part of how we were able to afford to go racing in that way. But the RS tie-up came on the backside of that. The company acquired Munition for the sort of expertise that they had, and we sort of entered into a partnership to cover educational, like STEM events and that kind of thing. So I might hand the floor to Gavin on that one. Got a little bit more relevant knowledge than I have. But,
yeah, no, thank you, mate. Fair prelude on that one. I'll pass to Esther after this, maybe to talk about Stemily and things like that off the back of it. But RS Components, they're a global electric component company, and unbelievable really that we've got them as a sponsor. A few drivers we met have said, you just put the stickers on your car to make it look like something, and either don't have faith in us or just thought, what are they doing in Club Motorsport? But as Pip said, Munition, and it goes back actually to the Boxer story, because they were a bit frustrated with us when we weren't doing very well, and rang us up to say, we deal with failure analysis and keeping things moving, and you keep stopping what's going on. So that's another story. But Munition, and it comes back to club racing and sponsorship and all the things you see about it's so hard. We chased them for, I think, maybe 3 years, Pip. We maybe visited them 4 or 5 times and pestered them and said, we're this, we're that, we're this, we're that. And every year we went back and we met with Rob and Paul in the end, and we said, go on, we'll give you a go. We can make it this, we'll give you a go. And as Pip said, go on, mate, jump in.
Well, I remember one of the meetings we had, Paul in particular sort of challenged us, like, where's it going? It needs to be bigger. So we came back years later with the Club Enduro plan. Like, it's bigger now. Like, what's your excuse? and then we had this issue with and I did want to bring this up in general, to be honest, but we had a Munition, we had our back as well, Ian Best, a good friend of Gavin's, and some other companies involved as well, who could put a lot of money to us, that I then went and decided I knew the best team we should drive for and stuff.
I think we're all in that together, mate. I don't think that's on me.
And sort of, you take a lot of other people's money to go and do a thing that you're going to promise is going to go well, which is a very risky setup. When we had those sort of first 2 rounds that were sort of really quite disastrous for all the things that we sort of built up, it was sort of it went worse than we could have imagined it would have done. And we had a conference call with Rob and Paul and said, look, we've got an idea to put it right. Will you back us? As we were putting the Boxster plan in place, and they didn't hesitate. It's like, if you say you can put it right, go for it. And I think we have to be forever grateful that they did, because it allowed us to do that season and continue on and grow into the RS deal that's become so much more. Sorry, back to you, Gavin.
Absolutely right. And Rob and Paul definitely part of the story, because RS bought Munition, so we'd been with Munition for that year. They backed us, and trust is a big thing. We cased them for years. We proved our worth. We've come back year on year and said, look, we're doing this now. We're doing this now. We're going to partner with these now. We're going to do this. And they gave us some money, and they gave us sort of 5-figure, thousands, which is a lot of money in club racing circles. I won't go into the detail. And when RS bought Munition, they said and supported us and said, these guys are good. They've delivered on what they've promised, and we think you should consider them. We then met with a couple of people from RS Components who are no longer with the business. Laura and James, I won't go into too much detail. They just chose to move on, and they said, you know what, we see it, we get it, we're gonna support you as well. And they were looking at STEM activities for young people, and they were using, I think it was the education budget, whatever it was at the time, to say, we're putting STEM events on. We want to engage with young people around STEM. We want more representation and things like that. That's one of the visits we did just before, actually, to a school in Runcorn that Toyo Tires supported us with. Anthony's Travel, Richard Bamber and Rick Styron, and a few others on the car there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we supported STEMfest, and you know, we went down the road of, we had young people at the track helping the car, and we did all that good stuff. We've done another deal with RS Components for this year, which is massive, through RS Grassroots, through Amy and Isabella. And again, they've backed us and trusted us to sort of deliver inclusion, to deliver STEM, to do all the things we've been doing for years, to be honest. We visit primary schools, we create safe zones at the track. Esther was a big part of that for Tourette's group. My daughter's disabled, which brought us to some of this, and we had safe spaces for a specialist provision school. You know, why should them kids not be able to come and experience motorsport? You know what I mean? And we wanted to enable 100%. All that. And that's in us, and that's what we were doing anyway. Virus Components said that matters to us, you know, that's important. And we got into engineering and technology and design, and we're supporting an event called Reflect for GEM, for the global ethnic minorities who are underrepresented generally in engineering and design. And we just got into these really big and important stories with RS to say, we can support that. You know, we're a team who've come from no money, you know, with a recognition that there shouldn't be these barriers. You know, W Series are trying to do it for females and things. And we just wanted to do our bit. We partnered with Salford Uni, a non-red brick uni. We partnered with Lincoln College. And I think all this to RS was, you know, that's the right thing to do. And they value that as a business. And I guess we aligned, and that made it work. I probably digressed a bit there, but I think that's some of it.
No, not at all. That's
and Esther can maybe talk more about Stemily. We actually met a lad called Stanley Donaldson, who started karting now. You may see him around, and he's doing really well for himself. We met him at STEMfest. He was doing it off his own back, to be fair to him, with his mum and his dad, and he's now proficient in karting. He's won a championship in pro karts. You know, he's really having a good go at it. And we met him at STEMfest, and he just asked us questions about racing lines. He told us what he thought. We had a discussion with him, and now you see him flying and think, it's not because of us, don't get me wrong, but it's a great thing to experience and be part of and think you could influence. And Stemily, Esther, I think you're closer with than anyone. Maybe you could quickly mention her off it.
Yeah, we did the we took the Boxster to the RS event, which was quite good because it was shiny with the new wrap, and Stemily was there. Her name's Emily Stemily on all of the socials, and just got talking to her, and then she came to support some of the tracks. She wasn't old enough to be in the pit lane, but she did the timings and stuff for us from inside the garage. So yeah, she's that's the Stanley story.
Yeah,
love it.
Awesome.
Just quickly, Esther, I've got a message here from Matt Clary. So he said he messaged you about problems with his youngster Harvey with Tourette's probably a year ago. Great advice, has given him a dream to push forward and achieve his goal of becoming a racing driver.
Love that.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Awesome.
The thing is, like, because I have Tourette's, I think with young people, and they do worry that they can't drive, they can't race, they can't, you know, what can they do and can't they do and stuff. So I think it's important to see people who have conditions doing those things. So yeah,
it's fully inclusive club racing, isn't it? I mean, it's quite daunting getting into motorsport for someone who doesn't have, you know, disabilities and things like that. So for someone who does, it's must be incredibly daunting. So to have something like that in place to get people involved is bloody brilliant. I love that.
Every year I do have to do a track day just to make sure that the Tourette's hasn't got worse and that I can still, you know, have the confidence to get out on track and I'm not rubbish. But yeah.
Is that just an excuse to go on track though?
Yeah. And have all of the track time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Esther has signed up for the 2CV 24-hour race again. So if you could imagine a bigger stress test for Tourette's than to be rolling on sort of under 2 hours sleep, to be stood on standby in a garage to go out and drive for 2 hours or maybe a little bit more. You know, in 6 hour cycles in a team of 3. There's nothing quite probably. There's probably very little out there in the world of racing that would probably be more stressful than that. And so she does really well with it. And Esther doesn't drive home after the event. That's the stipulation.
was the worst tick attack I think I've ever had. After that, because I suppress, and so after the 24 hours when it's all over, it all comes out. And all the racing drivers are really nice with it, because I do have cochlealia, so I do say rude words sometimes to some racing drivers. So everyone's pretty nice with it.
That's all right.
Awesome.
Well, we're talking about inclusion as well. Bit of a name drop, but the Colin Turkington thing, and it's not Tourette's related, but Colin Turkington. Yeah, sorry, have I jumped you there, Rob? Do you want to drop off that?
No. You must have read my mind, because I literally have the cursor over this picture ready to go. So it's a nice little segue into this.
It seemed to fit around the inclusion thing, and when we're talking about young people, Colin Turkington, what a legend! British touring car champion 4 times. I think everyone will know the fella. He put something on Twitter a couple of years ago, and this is his training cart. It's a right cart, and he used to use it pre-season, I presume, to get his strength up. That's in my living room. Yeah, that didn't go down well. If you notice on that picture, the petrol tank's not on it. That's because I deposited. Oh no, it is. It still is. I deposited half the fuel in the hallway, and yeah, the smell of petrol didn't disappear for quite a long time. But anyway, the cart. So Colin put something on Twitter about he wanted to support more people racing. He knew it was a challenge and affordability, and could anyone make use of it to get other people out there? So I guess we were one of probably thousands who sent Colin a message privately and said, "Look, Colin, this is what we're doing. This is what we tried to do. If you think we're worthy, sort of thing, thanks." And I think Colin and Louise got back to us and said, "Absolutely. If other young people can benefit from this, you can just have it. We'll just give you this cart and get more young people in it." COVID struck around that time, so we've not sort of delivered on our promise. I think it's fair to say, but what we have done. We've run a design competition for young people. It was actually won by a young person that Esther knows from a local primary school. Their livery is shortly going on to Colin's cart, and we're taking the cart to the Reflect event down in London, and we're developing an EV engine to look at sort of carbon neutral, motion and things like that next year with the universities to get young people from primary schools out in this cart. So hundreds of kids are going to go in that cart, but we wouldn't have funded it. We wouldn't have found £1 or £2 to buy a cart, but Colin was of the ilk that he wanted to help people, and I guess we got lucky to get it from him. So it seems the people at the top of the sport doing things like that gives a lot of faith, I think, to certain people.
Oh, I love that.
Absolutely superb, guys. Absolutely brilliant. Can't say any better than that. Especially when you get, like you said, that a bit of kit like that, it's not chump change to buy something like that from new. So for him to be able to give that to you guys, to be able to do what you do, is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely. And
that's it. We always want to do that, and we need to race to stay relevant. And then you question yourself and think, well, should we do that extra race, or should we be funding these other things? Because we want to do good, and we go to these events. I think Esther's done a Women in Engineering at a college, and we've done lots of other things. We've had Salford at the track. We've been over to Lincoln. We've done a track day and put young people who aren't necessarily overly academic in the car, and they've got a load from it, and they took stuff away. But equally, we don't have a massive budget outside of any racing operation, so we try and make it all fit, and that stuff really helps.
Love it, guys. Just a quick message from one of the show sponsors. Don't forget to check out Hawk Motorsport. If you pop onto their website, any order over £100 will get you some free shipping there. When they've got things from the likes of Nitron Suspension, EBC Brakes Racing, Nankang Tyres, that'll be quite the thing to get at the moment, Cobra Sport Exhaust, and Motormech Motorsport Parts. So get yourself over to the Hawk Motorsport website now. Steph's trying to find the link, I think.
Yeah, I'm very slow on it now, isn't I?
Oh, there we go. So don't forget, head to www.hawk, that's spelled HAWKE, but the E on the end of Hawk, motorsport, all in one.co.uk today. Right, guys, so what does the future hold for PDC Racing? So the rest of this year and going into the next couple of years, what are the plans for you three going forward? So obviously, Gavin, you've been racing the EP3. Pip, you've had a bit in Classic Stock Hatch and the HSCC. What's the plans, guys? Come on, tell us all about this year.
To fix Pip's crash damage, I think is the...
That's a good point.
Whoa.
We've got to come to this. So there was a group chat that Pip may have put something in. Was it last weekend at Thruxton?
Might have been.
What happened?
Okay, so we're doing the Carmel Porsche series, the series you mentioned earlier that Phil Waters and Ryan Lowry set up. It was just entered it as a one-off with the HSCC Porsche because at Thruxton's was one of the two tracks I'd never raced at in the UK. The other one's Lyddon, and it was just a good opportunity to tick that off and sort of reunite with some of our old rivals from the Porsche series. It's a 40-minute pit stop race, and about just under halfway through the race, I was catching one of the back markers. I was nice and patient through the chicane, and then on the exit of the chicane, he made a move towards the pit lane, and where I was already sort of alongside. I ended up we hit wheel to wheel. It hit my car up in the air quite dramatically, and landed quite heavily as well. So I don't think the damage looks bad, and I've left it under a sheet on the trailer ever since. So that's that's as much as I can tell you. But I don't think it's too bad. I think it's probably twisted the bottom arm mount slightly. It certainly bent the bottom arm and pulled the passenger front wheel back into the wheel arch. But I don't think it's too bad. I've certainly done a lot worse in the past, as Gavin and Esther will remember well. So it's good to know that you can fit the entire sort of reciprocating sawed-off front end of a 924 in the back of a Vauxhall Vivaro if you ever need to. Yeah.
There you go. Consumer advice on the Club Racing UK podcast.
Yeah. It's we've repaired worse. It'll be back. Again, an older car. It's a 1978 Porsche 924. So replacing the panels with steel to be at the HSCC spec that car is built to is probably the most difficult part. Because getting good steel panels is obviously a challenge now for a car at that age.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think I was very, very angry a week ago, and it's a very private group chat, so I'd appreciate if you keep that to yourself. So probably that's about as much as I could probably say about it. I was quite surprised, and then I had a good view of the sky for a little while, and then I will mention actually it was the first time Esther wasn't able to come with me that weekend, and so my mum was going to run the pit stop for the first time, so she was all quite nervous, so got a confidence sort of built her up to hang the pit board out and then come and time the pit stop, and the lap that she was going to hang the board out was the lap that I had this collision at the entry to the pit lane with this other car, so she never got to do it. So I'm sorry, Mum. We'll try again, I promise.
Oh, no.
I love that. So for the rest of the year, what's apart from fixing the 924, and I hope that goes absolutely to plan. Are there any outings planned in Classic Stock Hatch?
I'll certainly do Cadwell if nothing else. Mallory's to close the season as well. I like it at Mallory, so if I might do that one too, as long as I don't crash that one as well. We've got the I'm doing the 2CV 24-hour as well, but we don't do it in the same team because well, we've done that before, so it's fun to do it independently sometimes. So we've got that going on. We were planning to do Croft with HSCC, but that'll depend on the speed of the repairs. And then anything else that comes up, I've got a date at some point in the American Cup cars racing on the ovals. If I need to get in touch with Steve and make that happen. So that'd be quite cool. Something very different. Little ovals with bike engines in like the Baby Grand Sports stock cars.
Where were you actually doing that?
Well, I entered the last event at Birmingham Wheels last year.
Oh, okay. It was right.
Very spur of the moment. Just rang up. Actually, Paul Sweeney, a good friend of mine from when we went and did the ovals out in Europe, sort of kept at me until I committed to do it. It didn't go great. There was a problem with the car that sort of put me out of the event quite early. But it's Steve and Julie Stanford that are such a big part of the series. going to sort of honour the agreement and let me come out again at another time when I'm available, which seems to be the bigger challenge. So
you're telling me
yeah.
this show's been this was meant to be season 1, series 1. This show. I'm joking.
Well, I sort of go back to the accountability thing and the problems, the stuff that went on in 2019, and that was when you asked me to be on the show.
Yeah,
and I said something to you like, "Well, I don't really like the limelight anymore. Maybe Gavin should go on the show with you." And at the time, I was still reeling quite badly from how that whole season went down. Certainly in the first half, and I still keep a lot of that to heart, which is probably not healthy or a good thing. Where the amount of other people's money that was spent and lost, and I can't shy away from that to try and get us on the grid in a situation that we thought was going to work. And that's why, certainly for me, it's been a long time coming to be on the show with you guys, because there's a lot of sort of shame that I feel from how that all went down as well. So it's sorry, little vulnerable. We're supposed to be having fun, aren't we? But
no. Unfortunately, I feel your pain, Pip, because I'm sure it's probably not the first time someone's been in that particular situation in any, whether it's club series they've paid for it. Unfortunately, it does happen. I think it needs to be clamped down on a bit more, personally, but it's difficult to.
Well, the thing is, if you sort of stand up and shout and complain too much, then that's not going to do you any good either. No. You end up being somebody that nobody will want to work with, which is not what we want. The way we turned that season around is, one of the most positive things that's come out of, the 14 years that I've been racing, because the reaction to it and the sort of accountability that we all felt to try and make sure that everyone that supported us that season eventually, got what we agreed to provide, by the time the season came to a close, was one of the coolest things that we've achieved. And it didn't end up with the big trophy at the end of the year, but we weren't too far away. So I think that's always been important to the way we go racing, is that we try and do it right, and it's often come at a great personal expense to achieve, but we don't like going back on the things that we agree. So
yeah, absolutely. I can imagine. Right,
I've certainly bored Steph. I can see that. So next question.
No, I think Steph. Steph infamously has a very small bladder, so he's just had to go and sort himself out.
Yes.
Right,
Sorry
Gavin.
about that.
We have to be careful when talking about Honda Civics, obviously, because Nick's on, and we know how much he adores these cars. He gets very excitable, jumps around. He loves an EP3. How has your year been? How has your year been in the Type R Trophy so far?
What time is it? Can we swear on the show, or are we 20 past 9?
Crack on.
My own opinion of my own driving ability has been reinforced by entering the Type R Trophy. To be fair, I've loved it. Right, the car's brilliant. Motion Motorsport built me a great car. They're great guys. PDC have been brilliant with letting me, sort of run with them this year and have a bit of, EP3 experts look after my car, and they've done a great job. Story of my season is letting myself down, really, quite frankly. The car's brilliant and it's great fun, and the championship's great, and there's some really good drivers in it. It's competitive. And I turned up at Croft and didn't test, and I qualified 13th out of about 28, which I'm really disappointed with. Got stuck behind some other cars. Had a good race with Sam McKee. That was probably the highlight of my weekend. And managed to mug him at the hairpin at Croft, and he was good enough to talk about that in one of his videos. He does some good stuff, Sam. But I was rubbish. I wasn't very happy with that. And then I think we moved on to Alton from there, and I thought I better test at Alton. There's a bit of a lesson here. So I tested at Alton. I was going really well. I was half a second off Chris Nyland, my teammate, who's pretty quick. I think he's leading the championship with Jake Hewlett. Come qualifying, made some driving excuses. Missed the gear at Druids. I was running pretty well. I think it would have put me 5th. Qualified 8th and thought, well, 8th's all right. It's a bit of a step up. That's handy, top 10. And in the race, I went off at turn 1, all right at the start of race 1. And I'm not fast enough to get back through. So I made 4 places, I think, in that race, and I made 4 in the next race. But I'm not quick enough to get back to the front if I go back, if that makes sense. And I've had to qualify 5th, try and hang on to 5th, and take a bit of luck when I got there, I think, is the reality for me in that particular car. So I had a lot of potential at Alton, let it down. Then I went down to Pembrey, couldn't test because of work. I just couldn't test that weekend. It rained. I qualified, I think, 12th or 13th again, a bit disappointed. And in the race, you've probably got the video. I drove it off at the second to last turn at about 70-ish mile an hour in the wet. Splitter went under the car, took the bumper and took the radiator with it, and the car started to overheat. So I got another lap out of that. Pitted, yeah, that was you better pose it. That's an expensive runoff. So
that's a rite of passage, that is.
Yeah, so I put myself
posing for the broken splitter,
and I made my way up to 10th by race 3, which you think, well, that's all right, but wasn't quite quick enough. People will tell you I take too long to get used to cars. It takes me till race 3 to go quick, and I've learned a lot about what I can and can't do over the years. I think I'm probably ready for endurance and not sprint racing, but I love it. I'm enjoying it. Donington Part Next, I like it there. I can't test again, so we'll see how it goes. But it's a great championship. It's dead competitive. The top 5 are super quick, and I think if I was anywhere near that, I'd be quite happy with my lot, to not sound defeatist.
Oh, that's good, man.
So, Esther, your preparations for the 2CV 24 hours, is there anything special you do, or you just think, you know what, I'm just going to go straight in there, show everyone how it's done, walk away, explosions going off, sort of Joker style?
I'd love to say I did that, but no, I've just been on a track day because the cars have been developed quite a lot since I last drove it, so it's changed a lot. And I do it with an all-lady team, and I'm quite tall with long arms and stuff. So they've changed the dash, and I just needed to make sure I fit in, and some adjustments need to be made and stuff. But yeah, so I had a track day at Alton just recently. It was okay. I'm very much, because I'm quite not a novice, but I haven't had a lot of seat time, so it takes me a long time to get used to the car and to get the lap times down. I'm the sort of racing driver that likes to watch the lap times come down. I'm not. Pip can just go out and he's on it, and his lap time's pretty much the same. I like to see the number come down. So last time I did the 24 hour, I got getting the number down, but I still think there's a lot more in it. So that's my aim, is to get the lap down, the time down. And then after the 2CV, we're thinking of doing another race, maybe at Anglesey, maybe at Croft. And that would be possibly me and Pip, just me, and I want to share the car with him.
That'd be cool.
So with you both racing in separate cars, do the mind games start now? Just
the last time, Pip, because you can get such a good graph on the 2CVs.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I want to get my time down. So Pip was like, right, well, if we're in the same session, like, I'll come find you, and then you can stick at the back of me. And I was letting all these blue cars past and waving at them, and realizing that it wasn't Pip. And then we found each other, and so I was trying really hard to stay on the back of him, and then I did the biggest tank slapper of all time, but managed to keep it on the track still. And on that one, I got the lap of the weekend, and on the next one round, I'm going to follow Pip. I spun it right round. There's no real mind games, but it's just fun to see someone else. When you've been driving for 2 hours, it's just nice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So how do you go into it, sort of knowing that your nearest and dearest is in another car, Pip? I mean, does the competitive head get down and you just?
He would bash me off the road if I was in first. He would bash me off the road fully, and then
100%. 100%. You'd rather know where you stand, I feel, than find out you were wrong later. So let's just put that out there. That's the truth. If Esther is between me and victory, well, not for long. Right.
You're getting sent off.
Yeah. Possibly upset Chris and Maria with who own the cars that we're going to be driving, but no mercy, no witnesses.
Well, look, you've just openly admitted that, so at least they have the preparation in mind to know that it's coming.
Yeah,
we're a good team. We're a good team. I mean, we've done a few races together. We did Croft last year in the road sports, and we won our class at that, which was cool. We did a couple of races at Knockhill, both ways round with CSCC. So Saturday clockwise, Sunday anti-clockwise. So we got to do that both times.
Cool.
And she didn't even need me because she was already second, and we still finished second after I got in the car. So
the thing is that
I could have just watched.
The thing is that Pip's not saying is that because he's a faster driver, and because I didn't want to qualify on his time, I made him go through the pits each qualifying lap so that his lap time would be slower, and I qualified on my time. And because he is faster, I always start first because I don't want to get in the car and watch it go down. Rather him get in the car and then get us up and running. So yeah,
well,
that's how it works for us.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you guys. Have you ever seen anybody celebrate the start of a race? This Croft event, Esther took the rolling start.
So it's Croft. So we're in the bottom
class.
Bottom class. So up Croft, if you're in the bottom class, you start like almost round the corner. You started.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You've got to be on it.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not very good at starts, so I was like, right, even before I've got on the straight, I need to be on it. So I had the most amazing start, and I wanted to celebrate this and show Pip, like, look how proud you are of me. So I'm fist bumping the air, and then Pip pointed out that you're not allowed on the pit lane. He didn't see me fist bump, and then when we watched it back, I was fist bumping before I crossed the start line, so I hadn't actually quite. But yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. You don't see anybody celebrate before the race has quite started. That's something else.
Hey, look, that's a lesson learned, isn't it?
It was a good start. I'd do it again,
Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. It's been great to have you on. If there's anything else you guys want to talk about this evening, feel free. Any sponsors, people that back you guys, feel free to fill your boots.
It's probably worth listing a couple. There's been a lot over the year, Rob, but EWS have come to support us this year. RS Components and Grassroots, we can't thank them enough. And I think off the back of them, it's not just the funding, it's the things they involve us with. And we sort of supercharge our level a bit to be able to do what we're doing, for other people, and we all value that. Lincoln College, definitely. Sally and Ross over there. Maria, Ollie, Amber, all the team, Harry, Adam, everyone, Tom, Salford Racing and Salford University who've gone with us this year. We've had loads of support. There's too many names to mention. I've put a list together, and including Paul Woodford and all the old Porsche guys, but we'd be here all night. So I think we've had a lot of support. We're grateful for it, and we can ever help others, then I guess that's what we're about.
Oh, brilliant.
Awesome.
Can I just plug my I have a YouTube channel, so I'm just going to plug that right now. I don't know plugging it. So it's Esther Quaintmere at YouTube. I put videos on of us building the Porsche engine and things. So if you want to watch us build a Porsche engine, it's race cars. So.
That's it. Well, worst case, send us the links over, and we can post them up as well.
We'll share it about.
We're all about the automotive content here. Pip, anything from yourself?
No, apart from racing, I contribute very little to society, so it's Yeah, you could argue the usefulness of that as well. But yeah, just
hoovers up trophies.
Yeah, I've got a collection of not so precious metal. That's quite nice. I mean, the coolest trophies are the ones we won together. So that they've got pride of place in the trophy hallway at our house, which sounds much grander than it is.
Hallway, and Pip has all of the shelves, and I have this very small shelf with like my 3 little trophies.
And I know we've mentioned all the way through this, haven't we, PDC? But I think definitely a special mention to the Woods. I know Rich has been mentioning other people, but Jason and Tina and Billy and Jake, I think they were like the heartbeat of getting this going. You know, Jason just wanted to race. He just wanted to turn laps of the track, and he's helped turn us into a proper team, I think. And I think without them 4 sort of supporting it and being behind it, it'd have been a lot harder than it's been. So I think it's definitely worth mentioning them explicitly, and I'm sure Pip and Esther would agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Being bailed out by Jason's such an everyday part of my life that it's very easy to forget. So,
well, he's doing that for me too. So yeah.
I like the use of Jason's garage because it is a nice heated garage. It's the dream of garages. Very nice.
Is that a hint?
Well,
we wish we had a garage like that.
Yeah, we've only got 90% of the roof on ours, so it's not great. But yeah, any of like the real flashy sort of Instagram content we've ever done of builds has come from Jason's garage. Like, it's just a really cool place to work, really well laid out, really well set up. So and yeah, as I say, if it wasn't for the Woods, we probably wouldn't be doing what we do. So yeah, definitely should have mentioned them instead of talking about myself so much. And yeah, and a big thank you to them for the continued support.
Love it, guys. Right. Before we go, it's just time to remind everyone of the current Club Racing UK competitions. Steph.
There you go.
Right, it's competition time at Club Racing UK with, I believe, 2 competitions currently running. Stefan, take it away.
So the first one is for Club Racing UK members, for Fun to Pitch, or if Rob was putting that up, not sure. There we go. So for any Club Racing UK member, if you become a Club Racing UK member, you get automatically entered into our competitions. And the competition running currently to the end of August is a free brake pad and disc setup for your car from EBC, so massive thanks to EBC. So if you're a member, head to www.clubracinguk.co.uk, become a member. It's either £20 for a year or £2 a month, and you'll be automatically entered, and the winner will be announced at the end of August, and you will win free disc and pad setup from EBC. The second one is the Club Racing UK Summer Raffle. So for £5, a mere £5, look at that. For a mere £5, you'd be entered into the Club Racing UK Summer Raffle. And the prizes include a fully paid race entry fee up to £400, a track day courtesy of Marketing Delivery, an Uncle Luke's sign and sticker shop surprise bundle, Club Racing UK 2022 teamwear t-shirt, or a Club Racing UK sticker. Obviously you don't win all them prizes, you'll win one of those prizes. But to enter, just head to our shop, buy the ticket, £5. When it closes, we'll probably do a real fancy sort of raffle show. We'll figure that out to actually make it a bit better than just going on Google and doing a random number generator thing, because that's pants.
No, we need to make a British touring car reverse grid draw style draw.
Exactly.
So we need to buy
but guys,
balls.
It's £5 and you can get a free race entry
Tons
fee
of
out
cool
of it.
prizes.
So it's only £5.
Tons of cool prizes. Treat yourself. You got to be in it to win it.
100%.
There we go, guys.
That's it. I'm out, Rob.
You're out. You're all out. Right, I suppose in that case, it just leaves me to thank our wonderful guest this evening. Oh, what?
I've got to plug our own YouTube channel quickly, haven't we?
Oh yeah, very true. Very
So
true.
if you missed it, head on to the YouTube channel of the C1 vlog of our 24-hour racing with Team Morwood at the C1 Racing Club Silverstone 24-hour. That is live. Check it out. Coming up, it won't be this week. Probably next week will be our vlog of the Mini at Anglesey racing the TDT and the TDC. So keep an eye out for that. But that'll be coming out soon. I'm out.
At some point, I will get some footage to you. I promise.
Well, you know. How about this weekend when you're racing, actually try and film some stuff, and then I'll make a video for you.
Oh yes. I'm actually racing this weekend, so I've got that to look forward to.
Yay!
Yes, if you get a chance this weekend, keep an eye on the BRSCC live stream. I will be racing the 3 Modified Ford Series races in the Modified Ford Series, funnily enough. Yes, the trusty old goat is going out in the Focus ST 170, so we'll see how it goes.
Good luck, Rob.
It's going to go well.
Chaps, I'm going to need it. It's going to be a warm one. Right. So, thank you so much to our wonderful guests, Mr. Pip Hammond, Esther Quaintmere, and Mr. Gavin Johnson. And as usual,
guys.
thank you to Stefan Marsh. Nick, you've been an absolute hero doing the show with COVID, as per usual. I have been your host, Robert Lewis. This is the Club Racing UK podcast in association with Silver Lake Automotive Recycling. Goodbye for now.
Good night.